Musical instrument manufacturers are constantly pushing the state of the art by introducing new, innovative features on each generation of their instruments. One such example on the FR-4X is the new parameter called voicing that is available in the bass orchestra chord section. It's a feature that I've not yet seen on any other model of V accordion. At Roxy's, we are so impressed with it that we want to share our discovery of it with everyone. In addition, this video provides, in the text description section, free download links to both the sheet music and orchestration file, a user program bank file, for the example that I used to demonstrate the voicing feature in this video. The download will not only give you a convenient way to try out the new voicing feature, but it will show you how you can publish your own multi-part arrangements and orchestrations on the FR-4X. By sharing your work in this manner, other musicians can easily import your orchestration file and play from your sheet music, which includes when to switch orchestral parts using either register buttons in sequence or an FC300 pedal unit, as I will be demonstrating in this video. But before getting started, I'd like to take this opportunity to say a few words about these public FR-4X videos that we've been uploading to our official Roxy's YouTube channel. Are you finding them informative about the various features of the FR-4X? If you are looking for a new FR-4X, you should know that these public videos represent only a small fraction of the instructional support that Roxy supplies. With every new FR-4X that Roxy sells, we provide as an exclusive service to our own customers links to private videos that currently contain over 5 hours of instruction on everything from first turning the instrument on to your own tone editing. And it is our intention to add to that collection as the need arises. So, if you like the quality and format of the instruction that you see in these public videos, know that you will get a whole lot more if you purchase your FR-4X from Roxy's. Now, about this new bass orchestra chord voicing feature of the FR-4X, it's a parameter adjustment that allows you to add orchestral variety to your performances by taking advantage of what is called chord inversions. In case you've never taken a music theory course and have never heard of chord inversions, their main purpose is to add tonal variety to bass accompaniment. Chord inversions are standard practice for jazz pianists who play using chords on the left side of the keyboard rather than playing from a specific left-hand score. Typically, jazz pianists play from lead sheets that provide only the G clef, treble line, and chord sequence, no F clef bass line. In a way, they play a lot like we accordionists do, but because they play all notes of each chord themselves, they are free to flip chord inversions at will, which they do often to provide tonal variety to their bass accompaniment. You also find chord inversions in the left-hand F clef score of many piano compositions, in which case it's the composer who is specifying their use. But of course, as an accordionist, you've never been able to switch between different chord inversions. Until now. To present this new feature, let me first set up my instrument. I turn it on and navigate to set 35, called Old Paris. You'll eventually see why I picked that particular set when I play my example. Next, let me activate the Orchestra Bass Notes section and select as a tone the famous bowed bass, which on a standard unmodified factory set is located at bass side register button number 2. Here is what it sounds like. Next, let me activate the Orchestra Bass chord section. For this discussion, I think my best choice for tone is the virtual tone wheel, or organ, which on a standard unmodified factory set is also located at bass side register button number 2. Here is what that sounds like. And here is a standard 3/4 time bass pattern using both those selected tones. So now let's take a look at the new voicing parameter in the Orchestra Bass Edit menu. The fastest way to get there is by pressing the left arrow button. The LCD shows me the orchestra chord tone screen. How convenient. I see that the virtual tone wheel, or organ, is the currently active tone. I already knew that. I press the menu button. The instrument anticipates my actions by presenting me with the Orchestra Chord Edit menu title. I press the Enter button to enter the menu. Again, I see the virtual tone wheel as being the currently active tone. To get to the voicing parameter, I press the right arrow button 6 times. The current value is mode 1, which represents the way you normally think of a chord, which is the tonic, played as the lowest note, along with the third, often called mediant, immediately above the tonic, and the fifth, often called the dominant, immediately above that. This is often referred to as the root of the chord. For the C major chord, it would be the notes C, E, and G, played in order of increasing pitch. It is my understanding that this is what gets produced on all acoustic accordions, as well as other models of V accordion, whenever you press the C major chord button. I now press the plus button for the next available voicing parameter value. It's called mode 2. In this case, the instrument plays what most music theory books call the first inversion of the chord. The lowest note played is now the third, or mediant. The next higher is the fifth, or dominant, and the next higher after that is the tonic, but this time 1 octave higher than it was in the root. In the case of the C major chord, it is the notes E, G, and C in increasing order of pitch. You can tell this has happened by the higher pitch sound. Compare the sound of mode 1 to mode 2. Yet both represent the same C chord, and both can be used interchangeably to harmonize the treble melody when the music calls for a C chord. But they do sound different, don't they? I press the plus button again, and this time I get the value mode 3, which represents what most music theory books call the second inversion. This time the dominant is the lowest note. For the C major chord, the notes are now G, C, and E, played in that order of increasing pitch. Here's what it sounds like. And for comparison, here is the root followed by its 2 inversions. I press the plus button again, and I get the value cycle 1. This is where it gets interesting. According to the reference manual, if I repeatedly press the chord button, I will get a sequence of chord inversions according to the following pattern. The root, followed by the first inversion, followed by the second inversion. The cycle repeats. When played in combination with bass notes using various standard fingering patterns, it produces some interesting tonal effects. How appropriate the effect produced is depends on the time signature, the fingering pattern, as well as your particular tastes. Do you want the pattern to sound exactly the same each measure, or do you want it to sound more random from measure to measure? You decide. However, I should point out that most people prefer patterns that repeat every measure or every second measure in a regular manner. The voicing feature offers 10 different pattern selections for you to choose from, thus allowing you to construct different recurring patterns in different time signatures and fingering patterns. Of course, you're anxious for me to cut to the chase and demonstrate what all this sounds like in an actual performance, aren't you? Sure. And for that purpose, I decided to use the popular French musette song, Mon Amant de Saint-Jean. You can't get any more accordion than that. And now you know why I chose the set called Old Paris. And to make the example more appealing to most viewers, I decided that the accompaniment pattern should repeat each measure. But there can be a problem with that. Orchestration experts warn that no matter how pleasing the accompaniment pattern, if overused, eventually it becomes tiring to the listener. So what to do? The secret is to add variety by using different accompaniment patterns in different parts of the song. If you are familiar with this song, you know that it consists of 3 sections which I can orchestrate, each using a different pattern. But wait a minute. Changing voicing patterns requires an adjustment to a menu parameter. How can I do that in the middle of a song? Simple, by taking advantage of the FR-4x's user program feature. In the first part, I will use voicing cycle pattern number 5. In the second part, I will use voicing cycle pattern number 7. And in the third part, for extra variety, I will use cycle pattern number 10, which has greater complexity. Of course, you have to listen carefully in the actual performance because of the predominance of the melody. Please ignore that I play the example on my chromatic FR-4xB instead of the piano FR-4x. There's nothing special about that. I just happen to have learned the song on the chromatic, and hence it's easier for me to make a video on that style of the instrument. From the sheet music that I provide, you can very easily play the song yourself on your own piano accordion. Were you able to perceive the different chord inversion patterns? Of course, the presence of the melody made it harder to notice. Well, I did change the bass to treble balance in favor of the bass to help you notice it more easily. However, I couldn't favor the bass too much, lest I would ruin the overall sound of the piece. Still, at some spots in the performance, the variety introduced by the cycle patterns was clearly there. And please realize that this is only a simple example, not a full-fledged orchestration fit for a stage performance. I'm just a product support technician. You're the musician. I'm here to show you how to access features on your instrument, but you're the one who has to produce the music. Anyway, what I have shown you should be enough to point you in the right direction with this new FR-4x Orchestra Bass Voicing feature. You need to audition the feature yourself, and when you do, you'll discover various operational characteristics. For example, the cycle patterns restart every time you change chords. It was very smart of Roland to do this. You can tell that they really put some thought into this new voicing feature. But in the beginning of this video, I also mentioned that I had a second purpose, and that was to show you how on the FR-4x you can share your musical arrangements and orchestrations with other musicians by providing sheet music with a companion user program bank multi-part orchestration file. And I have done that by providing a free download in the text description section of this video. The ability to do this was somewhat compromised on the FR-1x and 3x by the need for people using your orchestration to install any custom user sets that you may have used in the creation of your orchestrations. However, on the 8x and 4x, that architectural compromise has been solved by saving within each user program file the complete data of whatever sets were used at the time that each user program was created. And with the sound expansion kits now provided free by Roland, and with the instrument able to hold all 4 that Roland has published, you can now feel free to publish very complex orchestrations on the FR-4x with the confidence that anyone can use them on their own instrument without requiring any special installations or configurational changes. The V-accordion has finally come of age. I'd also like to take this opportunity to point out a few things about what has already become standard practice in the publication of orchestrations for all modern electronic musical instruments. First, notice that the sheet music identifies the name of the user program bank file that needs to be imported into the instrument in order to use the orchestration. The name includes identification of the number of orchestral parts that need to be played, in this case 3. Second, notice how within the sheet music, special notation indicates when to activate each part of the orchestration. It's also important to realize that all orchestration selections within the piece are accomplished using the register buttons, not the smaller, more difficult to activate accordion, orchestra, organ, and drum mode buttons. And most importantly, all orchestral parts of the song are to be activated in sequence. All of these things allow people to use a foot pedal to play the piece completely hands-free. That is, without having to press any register buttons at all, as you saw me do in my small performance. Using your computer, copy the user program bank file that I provide as a free download to the MyUPG folder on your FR-4x's USB flash drive. Plug the drive into your instrument and use the import utility to bring it into the bank of your choice. Typically, people use bank number 1 for this purpose. I demonstrated this operation in a previous video called FR-4x Importing Orchestrations from USB Memory. If you do this for the file that I provide, you will notice that only the user program locations 1 through 3 contain anything. All other user program locations in the bank show up as empty. This is to emphasize that the sole purpose of the bank is to play the example in question. It also guarantees that I don't accidentally publish as part of my orchestration something that is part of someone else's, or part of an installation that was made by the dealer on my instrument when I purchased it. Some people don't feel comfortable with the idea of regularly importing user program banks into their instrument from USB memory, for the reason that doing so overwrites what was there before. For example, when you purchased your instrument, it may have come with certain custom user program banks already installed, and maybe you don't want to upset that. However, there is no danger if you properly export your instrument's custom user program banks to USB memory to be used on an as-needed basis anytime you want. The fact is, as electronic instruments evolve, and with each new generation providing more tones, as well as more orchestral possibilities, as I demonstrated in this video with the new Orchestra Bass Chord Voicing Parameter, the advantage of using external USB memory as part of your regular playing technique becomes more and more attractive. For example, what if in the middle of playing a particular song you want to do something specific for that song, like changing the voicing cycle pattern or changing the drum patch, but none of your custom user program banks that your dealer installed provide exactly what you want? In order to accomplish what you want, you will have to consider creating your own user program banks representing your own multi-part song orchestrations. And I emphasize that it doesn't mean you have to change the way you play your instrument at other times. As I pointed out in a previous video, it is a simple matter to swap user program banks in and out of your instrument from USB memory as you wish. Eventually, you will realize that the USB capabilities of your instrument are not just for installation by your dealer. USB memory is there for you to use as well to extend the capabilities of your FR-4x beyond what it can hold in its internal memory at any one time. You can, if you wish, make regular use of USB memory as part of your playing strategy. It's no different than how your computer or iPhone use external resources such as the cloud to extend their capabilities. Everyone at Roxy's wishes you success with your FR-4x.